This podcast is proudly sponsored by Joro Protein, a Rhode Island plant-based protein supplement company designed for athletes and adventurers. They deliver 25 grams of protein, 5 grams of BCAAs, and 18 essential vitamins and minerals. It's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, it's allergen-free, no artificial flavors, no added sugar or stevia, and it has no additional gums, thickeners, or fillers. Right now, you can get 30% off on this podcast with the code Rhody Strength 2022, and you can find them at joroprotein.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Phase CBD. That's P-H-A-Z-E. They are a local Rhode Island company who makes and manufactures a wide-ranging variety of CBD products that are formulated specifically for athletes. It doesn't matter if you're a CrossFitter, a strongman, bodybuilder, or powerlifter. These products are for you. These products range from tinctures to seltzers to even roll-on applicants. By supporting this business, you're supporting a local Rhode Island business and you're supporting this podcast directly. Please check them out at phasesports.com.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Rhody Strength podcast. We got co-host today, Jeff with us, and Ryan Tanguay over at CrossFit Amoskeag. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yes, sir.
Got it. All right, so he's a programmer, prior coach, and right now getting his master's for engineering management. So, I get that right?
Yep.
Cool. Great to have you on, man.
Yeah,
Great
thanks
to
for
be
coming.
here.
We
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate
me.
it.
So, want to quickly give a brief introduction of the Classic. So, I know you competed in it last year.
Hence my belt.
Hence the belt. You got it right here. Winner of the
Intermediate division.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you also brought an athlete, Sean.
Yeah. And one of my athletes, Sean, he won the scale division, and it was his first year to the date of doing CrossFit. So that was a really cool experience, both as a coach as an athlete. If anybody's curious more about that story, check out the original podcast when I was on with Dr. Matt. There's a whole explanation of that, but today we're focusing on talking to Ryan, the founder of the Amoskeag Classic. And Matt, I'll turn that back over to you.
So we'll get right into it with some rapid fire questions, and a lot of these are probably going to be. I'm guessing you live in Manchester or the surrounding area.
In the area, yeah.
So a lot of these are probably going to be in the Manchester area, but that's totally cool. I'd love to learn more about that. So we got first one: favorite coffee shop.
I don't drink coffee.
No way. Okay. All right.
All right, that's a first.
Any? I think that might. Well, I think there's been a few others, but it's uncommon for sure. Pre-workout?
Nope.
Caffeine at all?
I don't take any
way.
supplements either.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
I actually listened to a podcast with Ricky Garrard. I think he was on maybe the CrossFit Games podcast or something back in November or December, and he was talking about how after he was banned, he stopped taking supplements just to see what would happen. And I was like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting. And like at the time, I was having some digestion issues from maybe like whey protein or something like that. So I was like, oh, I wonder what it would look like if I tried that. So I've been supplement free since December.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's that felt? Like, what's that been like?
It's been interesting. So early on, like I thought I was feeling different, and I honestly feel better. I say supplement free. The only supplement I do take is vitamin D because I work in a classified area where there's no windows.
Okay.
So I don't get any sunlight exposure at all. So that's the only thing I take. But other than that, no pre-workout, no protein supplements, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I get it all through food.
Were you a coffee drinker or pre-workout drinker prior to this? No,
Nope.
never.
Nope.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. That's
I just don't like the taste of it.
Yeah.
That's
No,
it.
I
Yeah.
respect it. That's awesome.
Your energy levels must just be awesome at all times.
Yeah, I mean, I sleep pretty well too, so
That's great.
it helps.
Oh, hey.
It's cool.
When I do decide to get away from all that, I will be coming to you.
Yeah. Well, next question, we got favorite breakfast spot.
I eat breakfast at home all the
All
time,
right.
but we do have a restaurant in the area. It's called Tucker's. I don't know if there
Okay.
are any in this area, but
I haven't heard of it.
they're all like locally sourced stuff. So
Oh, cool.
it's really high quality food and it's real good. So
Okay.
when I do go out to breakfast, that's where I'll go.
Okay,
Good
right on.
stuff. Shout out Tucker's. Next one, we're switching gears slightly. Celebrity crush. This is a tough one for a lot of people.
Yeah, this is
So
a
if
tough
you don't have an answer, we can just skip it. But
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really have.
All
any.
right.
that's
totally fair.
Next one, we got place most recently traveled, or if you have any trips planned, anything coming up.
Probably Miami would be the most recent place that I went.
Sweet.
So
And why was that?
Wadapalooza.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome. And you
we'll get
competed,
into
right?
that.
I did, yes.
That's so
in the
cool.
intermediate division.
Okay, right on.
Let's go. All right, and anything coming up?
Not for me
No?
currently.
Okay,
So
cool.
working back from injury, trying to get healthy and
Sure.
stay healthy. So my eyes are set on Wodapalooza again in 2023. So that's probably when I'll make my return to the competition
Awesome.
floor.
Awesome. How about switching gears again slightly? One book that either you read recently or something that you really like, maybe something that's impacted your life?
Yeah, so I've actually been reading a lot of books since the start of the pandemic. What I'm reading right now, I can speak to a little bit. It's called Life Force by Tony Robbins. I don't know if you guys know about Tony Robbins, but it's into like a lot of regenerative medicine type of stuff. So it's
cool.
pretty interesting. Some of it is like kind of like out there. So
Sure.
it is an interesting read. Trying to think of some other books that I've read in the past. I've read like The Wolf of Wall Street probably 3 times. If you've seen the movie, the book goes in way more detail,
No
and
way.
Gosh.
it's a wild ride.
You know what? I might need to take you up on that and check that out.
Yeah.
I have a
Sounds interesting.
question on that first book too, because I just listened to a podcast recently that someone sent me, and he was talking. It was a recent one, and he was talking about that book. I forget the name of the podcast, but he was going along those lines of medicine. He was talking a lot about the mindset piece of it, how people's like negative thinking, depression can really get them into worse diseases, or like maybe even like something that might have not been disease, like create a disease, but flipping the switch, if you can really like positive thoughts, like that type of thing, like almost like woo-woo type thinking, but like he found that to be really, really impactful. Do you have any like examples from that book that you remember?
Not quite yet. I'm only about 120 pages in, so
Yeah.
majority of what he's talked about so far is like stem cell
Sure.
therapy,
Okay,
which has
yeah.
been really interesting
Yeah.
to me because I've been dealing with a back injury for a couple of years now. So
Yeah.
not that that's something that I think that I need to do, but it's like putting that question in my mind, like, hey, I've tried PT, I've tried rest, I've had a steroid injection in my back. I've done really everything that I could aside from surgery. And I'm so young that I really don't want to have surgery.
Not
So
worth it.
it's like, oh, maybe that's something down the line that if things just keep continually getting worse, then maybe that's something that I go towards. So
Sure.
it's been cool to read about that and see like some of the things, the sciences that are coming along with that.
Very cool. I like it. And then next question will go favorite podcast.
It's got to be the Sevon podcast.
Okay.
I listen to it every single day.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be controversial to some people, but I really enjoy his takes on things, and even the non-CrossFit shows are pretty good. I don't really follow a lot of the UFC stuff, but he has some guests that aren't involved in CrossFit, so it's kind of cool to hear him speak to those people. And I'm a huge podcast guy, actually, so I was excited when you guys invited me on because I've never done a podcast
awesome.
before, but I
right
listen
on.
to him a lot. So the Get Weather programming guys, they're Chase and Bill, they're fun to listen to. And then a non-CrossFit related show that I like to listen to is Impulsive by Logan Paul.
I like that too,
So,
actually.
yeah,
I do like
it's
that.
a good
Can't say
show.
I've listened to it.
A lot of people hate on the Pauls, but
I
I'm
was
not a
hating on it
huge
for a
fan of
while.
Jake.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But Logan, he's a good dude, and he's very smart. So
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and I've actually gotten a lot of book recommendations from their podcast. That's where I got the Tony Robbins book
Okay.
from. So, yeah.
I was very surprised when I first, because I saw his podcast. I'm like, oh, they're just BSing the whole time. It's probably
Yeah.
just garbage. But when I actually listened to one of the episodes, I'm like, wow, this is actually really well done.
Yeah, it's quality content
Yeah,
for sure.
it is good.
I'm gonna have to check this out.
It is. I mean, I think like anything else, like look for the guests that you like, because they do have really super high level guests on
Yeah,
there.
Sure.
Yep.
And I think they do a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Favorite Instagram accounts, and a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't even like Instagram. I don't have Instagram, or and it could be an account maybe that's entertaining, inspiring, or something you comes up on your feed. You're like, oh, I get really excited for the content they have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really spend that much time on Instagram anymore, but I really have enjoyed kind of getting into the weeds of the Amoskeag Classic Instagram and posting stuff, and because I'm not very active on my own social media,
Yeah.
so to be able to be a little bit active there and ask some questions and put some polls out and get some engagement there has been kind of cool and rewarding.
Honestly,
100%.
from all the comps that we've worked with and I've even worked with, I think you have the most engaging Instagram of all of the comps. Like, you actually do a great job of leveraging that, even when it's not necessarily like relevant, when it's coming in January or February. The things that you've posted been incredibly engaging. I think that's really done a lot to benefit the competition, which we'll get into, but I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
With that, you want to take a quick break?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to switch gears slightly. We're going to get into your history a little bit, which I think is interesting for us, how you got into CrossFit, and then we'll kind of transition from there, how you ended up getting into the competitive side and coming up with this competition. But to start off, how'd you get into CrossFit?
Do you want the long story or the short one?
Give us the long story. We got time.
So I started school and college in this fall of 2014 at Salve Regina here in Rhode Island.
Go Hawks.
Played baseball, and then things happened. I wanted to get closer to home again, so I transferred to SNHU, Southern New Hampshire University, and I walked onto the basketball team there. But before that, the summer of 2015, the CrossFit Games were on TV on ESPN, and I was like sitting at home, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. Like, I would love to do that. As most people that see the games think that, and especially as an athlete. So I went to school that fall, and we had tryouts for the basketball team in October, and I told myself, if you don't make the basketball team, you're going to go do CrossFit, because I had found a couple of gyms, Amoskeag being one of them, right near the school. So if I didn't make the team, I was going to get into CrossFit. So I ended up making the team, played there for a year and a half. I decided to walk away from basketball. It had given me everything that I wanted from it. So after that, I actually saw American Ninja Warrior on TV, so I pursued that. I submitted a video and audition for that. I got a call from somebody in Burbank, and I had made it through their first round cut or whatever, but I eventually didn't get to go on the show. So at that point, I was, believe it or not, I was 6'3" at the time. Now I'm 6'2" because of weights shrinking a little bit.
Sure.
So at that time, I was 185 pounds.
Wow.
And like 4% body fat. Now I'm 215. So put on a little bit of weight. But so after that, I was like, all right, I'll get back into this CrossFit thing. So I looked up online, CrossFit.com, followed .com workouts for a little while, right out of my garage. And I learned how to snatch on YouTube, clean and jerk on YouTube, all that type of stuff. Following main site, 3 days on, 1 day off for probably like 6 months. And then when I went back to school for my senior year of college, there was a gym probably like 5 minutes down the road. And I walked in there one day. I was like, hey, I'd like to start CrossFit. I want to be competitive, because I saw the CrossFit Games. And that's kind of where my journey started. And after I graduated from school, I didn't get any other job, so I asked the owner, can I coach here? And he helped me get my L1, so I became a coach, and I started coaching there full time. And then I was there for about 14 months, left there, and started a accounting job. So I worked in accounting for 14 months again, and then started the job I'm in now, and moved to CrossFit Amoskeag in Bedford. So
wow. Very cool. That's amazing. But one thing I definitely want to go back to real quick is the difference of CrossFit then versus CrossFit now. And it's so funny to me because, I actually started CrossFit about the same time. And it's kind of one of those things, like, everybody could kind of look at the games back then and be like, hey, I want to go to that level.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't out of the the realm of possibilities. Whereas now, if somebody walks into a gym and is like, hey, I want to go to the games in 3 years, you almost just kind of laugh at them.
Yeah, right. It was funny early on. I was, like, posting, like, stories and stuff on my Instagram with the hashtag Games 2020, because I was like, I started in the fall of 2017. I was like, if I give myself 3 years, I probably can make it. That didn't turn out that
way. Unfortunately, the sport has grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
You'll get better every year, but the sport just gets significantly harder to get into.
And like I said, I come from a baseball, and I was a pitcher in basketball. I was a shooting guard. You don't think of those type of guys as like strength athletes. I didn't do like hardly any strength training in college, so I was at a disadvantage right from the get-go. I still don't consider myself a strong athlete, but working on it every day.
Hey, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
How was the training for American Ninja Warrior?
It was pretty wild. So I built some of the obstacles in my garage with my stepdad.
Fascinating.
Was working on those for a little while. Had a salmon ladder in my backyard for a while, hooked up to the shed that's been taken down for good reason at this point.
Is the salmon one the one you use
yeah,
the bar
yeah. So I could actually go up and down probably like 2 or 3 times unbroken.
Wow.
At my peak when I was, again, 185 pounds.
Sure. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I could go up that thing once.
I bet you could. It's not that hard.
It isn't?
No, if you can do kipping pull-ups, you would catch on pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
I think so, at least.
This is my first interaction with any type of American Ninja Warrior type stuff.
Yeah,
So
it was a pretty wild time, and I would go to rock climbing gyms, and at SNU actually they have what's called a tread wall, so it's a rock climbing wall treadmill, and you could play with the incline of it. So what I would used to do to train was I would make it so it was at like a 5-degree angle, like inwards, and crawl on the underneath side for 30 minutes.
Holy smokes!
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So your grip strength must be nuts.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm a little heavier now. Remember?
Fair enough.
That's wild. Last time I was at a rock climbing gym, I went too hard like the first 10 minutes, and my grip just blew up, and then I couldn't even climb for the rest of the time I was there.
Oh, yeah.
It just completely smoked me.
Actually, you know what? Now that you mention that, I went rock climbing probably like 2-3 years ago for like the first time, and I thought like, oh, I'm strong. I can just jump on this rock wall and start going at it within, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes. I literally strained both forearms because my grip was just so taxed, and like the next day I couldn't like move my fingers because
it's
it was
real,
so
man.
messed up.
You don't realize the little muscles that you use when you're doing those little holds.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That is there is nothing but respect there. That type of athleticism is nuts.
I have one more question on sort of related to that. You said you used YouTube to learn snatch, clean, and jerk. What accounts did you follow? Or do you use a couple different ones? Or?
I don't exactly remember, but I would assume probably like some of the just like the CrossFit stuff, the red shirts.
Sure.
James Hobart was
Sweet.
like someone to always watch, and he moves impeccably well if you've ever seen him move. Just those demo videos, and like Main Site would have stuff like if there was a snatch 7x1 or something like that, they would put a video in there back in the day.
Sure.
So that was really kind of how I learned, and I didn't really watch videos that like broke it down. I just kind of watched and mimicked what I saw. I think that's something that has suited me well in my CrossFit journey. Being an athlete throughout my whole life, I played football, basketball, baseball in high school. Just always being that like quick to learn type of athlete. So picking those things up was easy. Like the first time when I went into an actual CrossFit gym, I was able to do a bar muscle up just by watching somebody do it. In my garage, believe it or not, my pull-up bar was hanging on the rafters by chains. So I learned like chest to bar and pull-ups and toes to bar on a bar that moved. So you think it's weird, but it actually helps your rhythm, because if you don't have the right rhythm, you're not going to be able to do it, because the bar is going to be swinging like crazy. So it helped me really quickly learn toes to bar and chest to bar and pull-ups and all that. I couldn't do muscle-ups on it, but...
Yeah, that's fascinating. I that does make me want to take it a step back though for a second. How and this is, for anybody listening that is a competitive athlete, especially a young competitive athlete, somebody who wants to pursue CrossFit, how important was it foundationally for you to play other sports before CrossFit?
Oh my God, immensely. I think that's one of the things that drives me nuts the most about CrossFit nowadays is kids are starting so young and they're making it their sole sport so young. You're missing out on so many different facets of athleticism that are only going to serve you well in a sport like this. Because, I mean, the best athletes are the ones who are most well-rounded. And if you have a diverse sport background, whether that, and for me, like playing ball sports, like hand-eye coordination is huge. Guess what my best lift is?
What's that?
Snatch.
Makes total sense.
The most highly technical one, you have to have all that coordination. Like, I know when we got here, I told you my snatch is only 90 pounds less than my back squat right now. Like, that's nuts for most people. Like, think about it for yourself. It's probably not that.
Oh yeah.
And like through injury and everything, like I've been able to hold up my snatch number, not because I'm strong, but because I'm technically sound.
Sure.
And that's not to toot my own horn or anything, but
even if it is, that's fine.
It's something that I take pride in. So
yeah, as you should. I mean, that's impressive, going through an injury, surgery, so on and so forth, and then being able to maintain that. But again, for anybody listening, go back, rewind that segment right there, and listen to it again. It's so important for young athletes to be diverse in their sports background and not limited to just one sport. Specializing in a sport, it's only going to create issues long term and down the road. And if there's ever a group of people that I'm sitting around that could explain that, it's both these two guys, Matt and Ryan.
And there's been plenty of research. Not even CrossFit, like let's say baseball or gymnastics. There's been plenty of research studies saying like, don't just do that for young kids, because it's going to lead to injuries, it's going to lead to issues. Like, play that bunch of those sports and you're going to be better off.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And one of the big examples of that is looking at the elite field now is Dallin Pepper.
Oh, yeah.
That kid, one of the coolest things I thought, and I think it set a really awesome precedent for the rest of CrossFit and younger athletes in the sport, is he played his senior year of football. Like, a lot of people don't know that, but he actually went back, and instead of stopping because he knew he would potentially make the games next year, not play football because of injury, he was like, no, I'm going to play football. And I mean, look at him now. Like that athletic background transfers to CrossFit in ways that you don't necessarily think of. And you think that, oh, if I want to be elite at this sport, I have to just do this sport. No. When you're younger, do everything that you can.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Couldn't agree more. But, obviously, thanks for sharing your background with us. But now we want to get into the fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, Amoskeag Classic. How did this come to be? What was the process that you went through what led you to, hey, I want to run this competition?
Yeah, so in 2019, I qualified for a competition in North Dakota, believe it or not. I found it online one day in the summer, and it looked pretty cool. So I did the qualifier, and I qualified, and it was called the Dakota Games.
Okay.
So it was held in an arena in Fargo, North Dakota. Very regional type setup.
Wow.
It felt like a regional. And so
cool.
I did the competition. I had a blast. I got hurt in an event too, but I got it out the rest of the weekend because I traveled there and paid for it. I was like,
sure,
I'm not going to withdraw.
Yeah.
So competed there, got back, and I was just like, we need something in the Northeast that's like this.
Yes.
And so at the time, the Southeast Showdown was a thing. And so that had happened a couple of months prior to me going to that competition. And then COVID hit, and we haven't heard from the Southeast Showdown since. I don't know what their plans are there, but I kind of was like, why can't we have something like that? So one night I was sleeping, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had just these pouring ideas of workouts. And I was like, what is going on? So I got on my phone, and I started writing them down. And they were actually the workouts that we did last year at the Amoskeag Classic. So after that happened, I went to our gym owner at Amoskeag, Dan, and I was like, hey, Dan, I know you guys put on this big team competition every year. It's called the Fifth Element, or it was called the Fifth Element. It was a 5-person team competition. Pretty cool idea. So 4 athletes would go in a workout while one person does another floater workout, and everyone would have their chance to do their own floater workout.
Sure.
But I was like, hey, I have this idea, and I know you've been doing this competition for a while, but what do you think about doing this? And he was like, absolutely, let's do it.
That's
and
so cool.
like, it got me fired up because I was like, I then had this experience at the Dakota Games where I was like, I came back from that, and I was like, every single athlete who does CrossFit needs to have this experience. I came off the floor. So our first event was actually the snatch ladder from 2016. So it was like 10 at 185, 8 at 205, 6 at 225, and so on. And I came off the floor. I finished the event in like 6th or 8th or something like that. And I came off the floor just the hugest smile on my face. Like my mom and my stepdad were there, and I was just like, that was the most fun I've ever had in my life, like athletically. And I played in some pretty big spots in my athletic career, and nothing had topped that.
Wow.
So I came off the floor, and I was like, every single CrossFitter out there needs to experience this at some level, at the individual level. So I thought, why can't we be the ones that create this big individual competition that can grow and become something like that? Because that Dakota Games competition started in an affiliate. It started at CrossFit Fargo, and by year 4 they moved to a convention center, and by year 5, which is the year I went to, they were in an arena, like a hockey arena. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it stemmed from, and that's the goal.
That's awesome. And I mean, so going through the process of then getting everything together, what did that look like? Because I mean, putting together a comp is no joke. It's a lot of work. It's a long process.
Yeah.
And not to mention, not only did you do that, but you did that through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So could you kind of walk me through that a little bit, like what that process was like?
Yeah, so it was a lot of conversations with Dan, trying to figure out, what we wanted our competition to look like, what we wanted it to be. And, at the time I was coaching, and since then I've taken a backseat to my degree, but he's really been awesome in giving me the freedom to kind of play out my vision. And, competing at the Dakota Games, seeing what it's like, the athlete experience, going to Wadapalooza, seeing what that's like, and trying to take those pieces that I experienced and put them into our event is something that I really have tried to do. And, taking all of those things and putting into place, like, the volunteers are huge. Like, this event's not going to happen unless we have volunteers, and volunteers who are bought into what we're trying to do. That's really the key thing. So assigning people to do athlete control. So as you know, like, we corral athletes just like they do at the major events. That's part of the athlete experience, and that's part of what kind of makes our competition what it is. You don't just hang out on the sideline and then wait for your time to go on the floor. Like, you go back in the corral for 10 minutes and you get to kind of hang out with your fellow competitors, talk it up, get to know them, and go through that.
Having got the opportunity to go through that, I had a fantastic experience with that. I thought you did an amazing job with the corralling aspect, because it created a different element that, like, for somebody like me who just kind of competes locally and that's about the extent of my athleticism, that was a totally new experience that I hadn't had a chance to experience. And it was a really, really cool thing to, even though it's like such a small detail in the bigger picture, like that in itself kind of changed the way that I looked at competition in that regard. Because, you know, that 10 minutes, nobody thinks about it, but like you're cooling down, you're not doing anything, you're sitting there, and that can actually wreak havoc depending on the event, on what you're about to be doing. And you're kind of sitting there with your own thoughts too. So for any athletes that have any kind of anxiety going into performing, that definitely can be a little bit of a mind challenge, if you will. Try not to swear. But one thing I do want to say, even before we go on, your volunteers are the best in the game. I hope that they listen to this so that they can hear me say it. I'm still grateful for the experience that they created for me and for my athletes last year. Like, that in itself made the competition so much more fun. Like, your volunteers were so bought into it. Your whole community was so bought into it. They just loved the competition. And I've been to multiple competitions now at the highest level coaching athletes, or even just local competitions, and I have yet to see something quite like that. So, just to all of your community, to the Amoskeag community, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think
I just want to put that out there.
We definitely have one of the best communities in New Hampshire, and they support everything that we do. And even with one of our athletes heading to semifinals this year, they're nonstop support for her, and it's just an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it's definitely something special. It's been a really cool thing to see. And so, kind of, exploring more of last year's experience, what were some of the big takeaways for you that you felt like, hey man, that was super successful, like that went really well?
Yeah, so the whole premise of our competition is we're trying to give that semifinals experience to athletes who either are not looking to compete at a semifinal or don't think they ever will, and the athletes who maybe aspire to be at that level someday. And so I think that athlete experience part of it is really the shining product that we brought to the table.
Absolutely.
That's kind of my main focus. And I've seen what that looks like from a behind the scenes type of thing, and I really want people to have that experience. And so that's kind of what I've looked for, and I think we did a really good job of that last year, and looking to add on that and make it even better this year.
Totally. That makes perfect sense. And not to mention, to that point, and just for everybody listening, you did have two athletes that did they win both their divisions?
They did. So our ex-champion on the women's side, Katie Callior, she just competed at the Syndicate Crown, took 11th place, was in the final heat on the last day.
Wow.
So that was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah.
And then we have Kyle Bowman. They're both from the same gym, actually, in Connecticut. Kyle's going to be at the Granite Games with Danny. So they're really excited to watch him compete out there and see, two athletes that really shined at our event go out and shine at a semifinal. So we're now the stepping stone for the semifinal. So if you win the RX division this year, you have a target on your back.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite the impression that they left. I mean, and again, for the people that might be listening, haven't been there before, haven't been to Amoskeag before, and are going to see it this year, we watched Kyle power clean after doing 2 squat cleans, power clean 345 to win the lift. So that was wild to see in and of itself. So kind of changing gears from that, is there anything about the comp last year that you would have refined and made a little bit different?
Yeah, so after the event, we put out a survey to all the athletes asking for feedback, and I think one of the biggest ones was the 5K trail run. Unfortunately, we didn't mark it as well as maybe we could have. We did explain early on that, if you just run straight, you won't get lost, but there are some twists and turns on the trail that we use. So I think maybe we could have marked that a little better. One of your athletes just did get lost. Luckily for her, she was a D1 runner, so she ended up winning the event anyways. But.
Yeah, so let's clarify. Jess got lost for a good 5-ish minutes of the actual run and still won her heat.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're looking at this year. I can tell you now, as a hint to all you athletes out there, we're not going to be running that far. So hopefully that issue won't come up this year, but we'll make sure that things are mapped out, either showing everyone in the briefing where exactly to go or having signs on the trail or some sort. So we won't deal with that problem again.
Awesome. So cool. And with that, you want to take a break?
Yep. All right, so coming back, let's get into this year. So what are people looking forward to? What are your hopes? Where's it going? What's the goals?
Yeah, I guess we can start with, what has been the programming process like this year?
So I actually started programming at the event last year. Just some ideas coming up while watching the events. Just sitting on the sidelines, typing on my phone, thinking of events to come up with. So they've been tweaked a little bit here and there, but there's a couple that were programmed last year, and just kind of filling in the blanks from there.
Sure.
My programming mindset is trying to be the most well-rounded test as possible. Something that you typically won't find with me is biases. Like last year, for example, yes, there was a 1 rep max clean, but what did you have to do before it?
Yeah,
you had to run a 5K before it. So like, I'm not trying to find the strongest person. I'm trying to find the fittest person.
Yeah.
Or I'm not trying to find the most gymnastically talented person. I'm trying to find the fittest person.
Sure.
So I can tell the listeners that I guarantee you whoever wins our competition this year in any division is going to be the fittest person and not the strongest or the most skilled.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely say as somebody that kind of got to do it, I thoroughly enjoyed the program. I mean, like the rope climb workout, that was devastating. that was so devastating on a level I wasn't ready for. And that was something I felt really comfortable with going into it. I was like, hey, this rope climb workout, I'm going to torch this. This is going to be great. And I got my teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
So that was a phenomenal test.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
And another person that I've enjoyed listening to lately is Ben Smith, and he's talked a lot about it recently on some of his podcasts. Is like, it seems like programming these days in CrossFit is trying to get a little bit too cute. And I don't really consider myself OG starting in 2017, but back then, like, grew up in CrossFit with Dave Castro, and his motto was, simple and elegant. So that's kind of what we look for. I don't try to do anything that's cute or anything that's like too off the cuff, because at that point you're not really testing fitness anymore. You're just like trying to have people just have fun at an event. And like this event, yes, it is for fun, but I also want it to be a good test as well.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that you nailed it last year, and that's why I'm excited to see what your programming looks like this year. So I'm curious, though, how many times do you test and retest the workouts?
So this is actually really funny. So last year, I was actually programming for myself for the majority of the year, and so I tested every single workout in front of everyone that trains at the gym, and we had like a handful of people who were doing the competition, and I tested the workouts right in front of them, and they had no idea. So I've tested a few of them this year, but I've recruited somebody to help me. So
Gotcha.
It'll be a little bit more on the DL. I've done, like I said, I've done a couple of them.
Sure.
But nobody knows that I've done it either, because I train primarily alone. I have one training partner. He is doing the competition too. Shout out Drew Shelley, intermediate division. But yeah, so he doesn't know either, because we follow a program. So
okay, cool. And so I'm curious, are we gonna see something that resembles that chipper again?
Maybe.
That chipper was I love that chipper personally, but I saw the damage it did to everybody else.
Yeah.
And I guess it showed me I knew how to prep for it, right? But man, that was devastating.
That was actually the workout I was most concerned about because of the time cap.
Sure.
And that's another thing that you don't look at or you don't think of when you think about planning an event is time caps. And we're trying to, get everybody in and out of the gym from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We don't want to keep anybody later. So having those longer events is sometimes tough. And to do a 17 or 20 minute workout with 6 different divisions, you're looking at 2 hours worth of time right there. So that's a big, long event, and then transitions in between. So that time really adds up. So I had to make that time cap pretty tight. And for the listeners who don't know, you can go back on our Instagram page, I think, and at Amoskeag Classic and find the workout. But it was like 50 wall balls, 40 total bar, 50 cal assault bike, 40 wall ball, 30 toe to bar, 20 box jump over, 10 snatch, and then back up.
Yeah.
And so just that in itself, you have 100 cals on the assault bike.
Oh my God.
So that's a big chunk of time as it is. So to get athletes to finish that workout, and I think the cap was like 18 minutes or 17 minutes, maybe it was 20. You know, we had athletes finishing in like 15, 16 minutes. And when I did it, I finished in like 16 minutes. So I knew that that was possible. But to see a couple of people finish it faster than me, I was like, wow. And then to see, and then also in like the same division to see people get time capped, it's like, damn, all right, this was a good test.
So you might see me cheesing a little bit.
Yeah.
I finished that in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go, bro. Hell yeah.
I am a chipper lover. Like that is my jam. I love chippers. So no, I thoroughly enjoyed that workout.
If you wanted to finish, you had to hurt.
Yeah, and I knew what it was going to entail, and I had a blast with it.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the first time I started practicing 30-inch box jumps.
Oh wow, really?
In my life, yeah. Because I actually, funny story, the first time I ever aided on a box was coming off a bike. So as soon as you had posted that, I was actually a little horrified. Yeah. So I like made it my mission all summer long to like get very comfortable with that because I was like, I am not going to eat it on a 30-inch box.
Absolutely.
Coincidentally, that ended up becoming my best workout.
Awesome. Yeah.
But okay, so kind of sticking with the process here. So what has it been like this year versus last year, getting everything organized and ready to roll?
Yeah, so we've taken like a more longer approach to it. Obviously, we're still a couple months out.
Sure.
But a lot of things are in motion now. We're starting to get sponsors. I have the whole like competition floor mapped out. Some of the workouts involve having the floor to be set up a little differently than it was last year. So those things have kind of been ironed out. Now the big thing is recruiting volunteers and getting them onboarded and getting that crowd ready to go. So that's really the big next step, and then sponsors as well.
Gotcha. So in the volunteer side of it, like how big is that challenge for you guys?
I think that's something that the volunteers will come as we get closer.
Sure.
We opened up a volunteer registration on Competition Corner. So if you want to volunteer, you can go on there and register to volunteer. But they've slowly come in at this point.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that as we get closer, it'll probably start to pick up. But, you know, it is kind of a tough time of the year, you know, kids going back to school and everything, people taking their last vacations. So understandably, it's hard for some people to commit a full weekend to it. But like I said before, we have one of the best communities out there. So I have no doubts that we'll get what we need to get it done.
Yeah, not only that, but to point this out too for, again, anybody listening, if you don't necessarily feel comfortable competing yet in your CrossFit journey, but you want to be around it, volunteering is a great way to get that experience. It's a great way to be able to interact with the athletes, the judges, everybody else, and get used to what it feels like to be on the competition floor without actually having to go out there and, you know, beat yourself to death in Ryan's workouts.
Yeah. And I mean, even if like you don't have any volunteer experience or anything like that, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I think it's a great route for people to go. It's a really good experience too in general. But kind of now stepping into the next aspect of it, you know, where does this go? I mean, like you've definitely figured out something really awesome that the Northeast needs.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, a semifinal style competition. What's next? Where does this go? Where do you find yourself saying, hey, I succeeded in my goal? At what point?
Yeah, I mean, this question is kind of like that interview question, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I know.
You know, I look back at the Dakota Games journey, and, you know, they started an affiliate the first few years, and I can't help but think that that's something that we could aspire to be.
Sure.
So I don't know if you guys know, the SNHU arena is in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's
cool.
home to the Manchester Monarchs, or I don't know if they still are affiliate NHL team or who plays there, but we have the arena there. So long-term goal, 5-year plan is to get in there and have like a regional-esque type competition with, you know, the 10-lane rig, the full long competition floor. That would be the ultimate goal within the next 5 years. But in the near future, you know, one of the things that we're looking at for next year is opening up a master's division to give some of those athletes an opportunity. We've gotten a lot of comments about that. It's just really hard when we don't really have the bandwidth to make that happen with only 7 lanes. Last year we only had 5 lanes. This year we have 7. Wow. So we have grown a little bit. The divisions have gotten a little bigger this year. So promise that those things are coming down the pipeline. We're considering all that feedback, and we're trying to make that stuff happen, because we want everybody involved at this point. We don't just want the younger people, we want older people and athletes of all ages. So shout out to Barb Higgins. She's from Amoskeag Concord. She's in her 50s, I believe.
Oh, that's so cool.
She competed last year in the scale division. She's coming back this year, so competing against the young guns. So
yeah,
looking forward to seeing her back out there.
That's amazing. And not only that, in my division, what was it, Nick? Shout out to Nick.
He trains. He's somebody that trains with me at the gym too.
I love that dude. He was.
He's
awesome.
gonna be competing again as well.
Oh man, I'm rooting for him. So, which kind of drives me to the next portion of this that I personally really, really enjoy that you guys do, and that's your prize purse. And obviously, there's the sense of winning a prize purse, but going beyond that, what's even bigger is that it's for every division.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're trying to make the same experience for all divisions, from RX down to scaled. So last year, our prize purse was $150 for first place, $100 for second, $50 for third. And when looking at the financials for this year and coming up with what we wanted to do for our prize purse this year, we're basically going to take the ratio of that total money and put it up against the profits from last year, and then the total profits from this year, and use that same ratio to come up with the prize purse for this year.
Sure.
Hint, we have about double the amount of athletes, so you could be looking at pretty close to, or if not more, double the prize purse for this year.
Yeah, to which point you have a wait list right now for this comp.
Yeah,
Isn't
we
that
have
right?
17 athletes on the wait list right now. So
And it's in August.
Yeah.
And it's May currently.
Yeah. So we've had a wait list for probably a month and a half.
Wow.
So that's when it probably started.
Yeah. So for anybody listening that this might be the first time they're hearing of this event's going to be huge over the next couple of years. Me and my personal belief, I think this will be the event in New England.
Why
That's
do
what
you
we're trying
think
to be.
it grew so much between last year and this year?
I think the success of last year, it was honestly amazing. The amount of hype and on social media, just the posts coming in for like weeks after the event, like everyone was just so through the roof about how well it was run, and just how much fun they had at the event, and from the the programming all the way down to the volunteers and the athlete experience, and just having that coming through, has just created the hype for this year.
Awesome. Totally. Couldn't agree more. And so, just something I always kind of ask, obviously you have some top performers from last year returning, any kind of thoughts, insights on, how they might do in the higher divisions this year?
I don't know. It's not my place. I don't know what everybody's been doing for training, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on game day.
Oh man,
it's not my place. I am taking the Dave Castro stance there, and we'll wait and see who takes the top spots.
All right. So another question I wanted to ask, or I guess comment on, is how many members of Amoskeag are actually competing into this competition?
Yeah, so we have like a little list on Competition Corner that the admins can see, and I believe we're up to like 23 or 24 athletes from our gym. So about a quarter of the total athletes are coming from our gym, which is pretty awesome.
Wow,
that's so cool.
That is huge. But even thinking of the bigger picture, so you have nearly 100 athletes doing this competition?
So far, yeah, we're at about 81.
Wow.
And last year we had just over 40. So,
That's big stuff.
So it's going to be a little bit tighter this year, is what you're saying?
Yeah. We're looking into renting some bleachers, possibly. We have kind of limited space on the turf for spectators, but we want to make the spectator experience good as well. That way, people can come and watch their loved ones throw down.
Oh, that's so cool. And that's what it's all about, ultimately, especially with local competitions.
Absolutely.
Because, when you're traveling, it's hard to get people to come with you and everything else, and it's just so many moving pieces that, like, local competitions like that, there's so much you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Okay, so I guess, kind of throwing our final spin here. Anything you want to throw out in terms of workouts?
Yeah, I got two.
Oh, man. All right, everybody listening, get ready because this is the big minute.
So we have
a big moment.
I want to announce so today I put up a post on Instagram on the CrossFit or the Amoskeag Classic story. Whoever could guess the closest to either one of the first two events that I'm going to announce gets $30 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. So based on the comments, I was looking through them, and unfortunately, a lot of you decided to just guess, oh, I think it's going to be a run and a clean or a run and a deadlift. And Amanda, because of the hints that I posted on Instagram, I was looking for a little bit more specific. So the winner of that $30 gift card is going to be Pete Koch from Rockingham CrossFit. He was on the podium last year.
Pete's a great guy.
For the RX division. So
Shout out Pete.
he is going to win the $30 Dunkin' gift cards. So we'll get you that on game day there. And let me see if I can find what he said. So Pete said, run clean ladder, 200-meter run, clean, 185, 225, 255, 275, 315 every round.
Oof.
It's close, but it's not quite there.
Okay.
So what we have this year for event 1 for the RX, and I'll go through each one so everybody knows what they're looking at here. So we have 6 rounds for time, a 200-meter run, and then 6 clean and jerks. For the men, it'll be 165 RX, 115 ladies. Intermediate men, 135, 95. And then scaled will be 95, 65. Round 2 will be a 200-meter run, 5 clean and jerks, 185, 135, 155, 105, and 105, 75. Round 3 will be 200-meter run, 4 clean and jerks, 205 for the men, 145 women, 175, 115, and 115, 85. Round 3, 200-meter run, 3 clean and jerks, 225, 155, 185, 125, 135, 95. And then 200-meter run, 2 clean and jerk, 225, 175, 255, 175, 205, 135, and 155, 105. And then the final round of 1 clean and jerk will be 285 pounds for the men, 185 pounds for the women, 225 pounds intermediate men, 145 pounds for the women, and then scaled will be 165, 115. So that is event 1. So a little bit of backstory on this event. I took kind of some themes from last year. So for anybody that knows, last year it was a 5K run into a max clean. This year we're kind of combining the two, not quite 5K in the running, obviously. But yes, the CrossFit Games event 6 from last year did play a little bit of role in this. I really loved watching that event of them doing the run and coming in and doing a clean. But I wanted this to be a little bit more of a strength workout. So this is your strength test.
Okay.
I wanted this to be the strength test because I wanted it to be tested under fatigue. That way we don't find the strongest person. We're finding the fittest person. So that last bar for the men at 285 and 185 for the women, I think to some people that might sound light, but with a 16-minute time cap, you're going to have to move.
Yeah.
And that 225, 255 bar at 3 and 2 reps, remember it is a clean and jerk, not just a clean.
Yeah.
That jerk at 285, that is the workout, I think.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's going to add up. And the middle rounds, everybody always looks at the ladders, the ascending ladders as, oh, this isn't going to be that bad or anything else. Get to the round of 4 and let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how you feel when you're hitting 80% for 4 reps, knowing that you have more work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the cool part about this event, too, so last year we had the rig was on the wall and everyone came this way.
Yep.
So this year the way it's going to be set up is all the bars will be facing the same direction as the rig, but they'll be staggered, and every athlete will have to start at the end of their lane on the side, run to the rig, behind the rig, out a door, do their 200-meter loop, come in another door, and then run around back to their lane, down their lane, and then do their lift. And you'll have to change your own weights.
Wow.
So everybody will be running the same distance no matter what lane you're in.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make it as fair as possible.
I love that. And not only that, but I love that you added the athletes have to change their own weights.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to create a little bit of a slight challenge that people aren't necessarily prepared for.
Yeah.
Especially on competition day. That
it adds to it because you start fumbling the collars and,
Yeah.
and you don't know where the plates are. Like that time adds up.
Yeah, you have to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for sharing that one. That's huge. So for
that-
everybody listening, start working on your clean and jerks.
That's event 1. So event 2, for time, 6, 12, 18 bar muscle ups and alternating dumbbell hang squat snatches.
Oh.
50 pounds for the men, 35 pounds for the women. That is the RX workout.
Oof.
The intermediate workout is going to be 10, 20, 30 chest to bar pull-ups, and alternating dumbbell hang snatches, not squat. Same weight, 50, 35. And then for scaled is going to be 10, 20, 30, ring rows, and alternating dumbbell hang snatches at 35 and 20 pounds.
I love that. You know what? I definitely want to go back to something real quick. Everybody always wants to say, or everybody always wants to disrespect ring rows. Let me just call that out right now. Everybody always wants to disrespect ring rows, but if you've ever done ring rows under fatigue and do high volume ring rows, they hurt. Mm-hmm. They hurt a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I promise anybody that's a scale athlete that's listening, don't think that's going to be a walk in the park. That is going to hurt. Your lats are going to feel like they're ripping off your body.
And we'll have a standard for it. So
I was going to ask, how do you standardize?
Yeah, so I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I'm thinking we'll probably put a tape line underneath the rings, and your either toes or heels have to be on that tape line. So and they'll all be at the same height, so everything will be similar. And actually, I have a scaled athlete that I've recruited to I've sent him all the workouts, and he's going to test them for me. So
that's awesome.
He tested some last year and it cursed me out a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that again.
Oh man, I don't blame you at all. So I'm curious. Are we going to see? Obviously, don't necessarily need to go into it, but are we going to see anything like the finale we saw last year?
The finale is my favorite workout.
Oh man, that was a blast. But Ryan, can't thank you enough for taking the time to spend with us and go through this. I am super excited to see everybody compete at Amoskeag this year. It's an incredible event. I mean, even if you're just looking for an event to go see, strongly recommend checking this event out. It was so cool. Everybody there is there for it. It's amazing. It's truly something special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
We'll leave you with one last question. This is the question I asked pretty much everyone, unless I forget. If you have one quote, mantra, or saying that you could put on a billboard, let's say New Hampshire, what's the major highway near Manchester? Is that 91?
So we have 93 and 89. They kind of come together.
All right, you get a billboard right where they come together.
All right.
What would you put on it?
So I've had it in my Instagram bio. I actually don't know if I have it in there still, but it's the classic Jerry Rice quote. Today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't.
I love it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, you can't beat a Jerry Rice quote.
Absolutely not.
Dude's a goat.
Cool. All right, well with that, we'll sign off. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
They're light clap for your speakers. Oh, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, great stuff.
Dude, you killed it.